Hello everyone, today we're working on a 2007 Ford Explorer Sport Trac, and we're going to be doing a transmission filter change and flush on this transmission. It's a 5R55S transmission, so it's a 5-speed automatic, and the filter number on that transmission, right here it is, Ford number, motorcraft number. And there's a gasket, and I've got it circled right here in blue. That's the gasket number. And the gasket is, I'll show you what it looks like. It's aluminum with the sealant kind of sandwiched in between. Okay, now we're going to be taking off one of the cooler lines to do the flush. So there's a tool kit that I have here. It's a Ossenmacher Specialty Tools, and this covers a lot of ground. This kit is, you can buy it from online for probably $125 to $150. You're not going to need all those. There's one in particular you need to remove the transmission cooler line, and it's number 8024. And you can buy these individually. You don't have to buy the whole kit. And I think individually these are like $25 or $30, so they aren't just too bad. But this is what you'll need to remove the cooler line from the bottom of the radiator where we're going to do the flush. Okay. And this vehicle has about 152,000 miles on it, and I don't know the history of it. It's new to my customer. I don't know if the tranny fluid's been changed or if it hasn't, so don't really know the history. The fluid we'll be using today is the Amsoil multi-vehicle ATF. It's a chemically engineered synthetic. Here's a spec sheet on the Amsoil synthetic ATF, the signature series. And first thing I want to show you here is there's two different ones here listed on this page. One is this red one is the older formulation multi-vehicle synthetic ATF, and then the blue bag here, this one right here, is it's a low viscosity fuel efficient synthetic ATF, and that's what most of your newer transmissions are going to call for. The thing about this chemically engineered synthetic is it reduces the operating temperature of your transmission by 20 to 50 degrees over petroleum-based fluids. And the life of the fluid is significantly longer as well. As you drop that temperature out of that transmission, all the soft parts inside last a whole lot longer. All the seals, all the piston seal rings. As you drop the heat by 20 to 50 degrees, the life of those soft components goes up significantly, and that extends your transmission life. And as an example, we have a taxi fleet, severe service taxi fleet field trial. This was in Las Vegas. What they did is they run the Amsoil for 180,000 miles in the transmission, and they selected the transmission to tear apart and see how everything looked. And what you're seeing here is the synthetic Amsoil, even after 180,000 miles, contained 83% of its original oxidation inhibitors. And you can see the valve body here looks absolutely beautiful. The clutches, again, they're clean, very little signs of wear on them. Very good condition. This is the kind of protection in the desert heat of Las Vegas that the Amsoil provides. So one of the best ways to extend the life of your transmission is through the use of that Amsoil Signature Series ATF. As we go down to this next sheet here, it gives you all the specifications, all the ASTM specifications here on the two products. The ATF is the older formulation. The ATL is the low viscosity right here. So as we go to the specifications, here's the applications for the older ATF, and this is just part of them. The rest of it's at the top of the other page. I'll show you that here. Right here is the remainder of the specs for that older ATF. And then right here is the specifications for the low viscosity ATF for most of the newer transmissions. So this gives you all the specifications for that fluid, and it shows you significantly how much better that performs than the regular fluids out there. If you want to extend the life of your automatic transmission, this chemically engineered synthetic Signature Series Amsoil is the best way to do it. And a lot of the vehicles that I do, we can do 150 to 200,000 mile intervals with this. If we have a replaceable gasket and can do the flush type thing. On some of the transmissions that don't have a filter change, and we run it probably about every 50,000. So it kind of gives you some idea on that. So we're going to get started draining that fluid down, and we'll be back with you. Okay, right here is the It's actually the check plug for the fluid level. There's a stem that comes up inside. We're going to take out that center plug, and that center plug is a T30, Torx 30. And we're going to take that out. Oh, that baby's tight. Wow. Really tight. Oh, the road salt's done its number on that one. I might have to put some heat on that one because where we're at they use a lot of road salt and that baby is stuck in there and I don't want to twist anything off. So I'm going to get an inductor and heat that up and see if I can't get that out. So we'll get that and we'll be back with you. Okay, I'm going to have a crescent wrench on here as a backup once I get this heated up so that whole nut don't turn. But just showing you what I'm getting ready here. I'm going to heat this up, and what I have, I've got a tool called a Mini Ductor 2. It uses induction type heat and it'll get that baby nice and hot for me so I can get it out. So here we go. Okay, right there it's starting to smoke pretty good. I'm going to try it right there. There, that was just enough to get her to come loose. Alright, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. Now, you have your drain pan ready. And don't touch that because it's going to be hot. Now, if you live in a part of the country where they don't use road salt, you probably won't have to do that. Okay. Don't look like we have too much excess tranny fluid in that one. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these bolts out around the outside and we're going to bring that pan down. There's going to be fluid in there because that stem probably goes up probably 1.5 inches, I would guess, maybe even 2 inches from the bottom of this pan right here. And that's the level of the fluid with the engine running. And we'll show you the level check when we get to the end. But we're going to go ahead and pull this pan down and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, you should have some fluid coming out of here when you pull out that drain plug. The reason we didn't is because earlier I'd pulled off the transmission cooler lines to figure out the flow, and we'd started up the vehicle and it brought the fluid level down to the point where it didn't run out when I took that plug out. But when you take yours out, there will be some running out for you. So on taking out this the pan, it's an 8mm bolt right here. On the back ones you're going to need probably a wobble drive and an extension, wobble drive type extension to get up there and get on them. But just kind of wanted to show you what I'm using to take it off. The rest of them are pretty easy to get at. These back ones, you got this exhaust kind of in the way. So it gives you some idea. We're going to buzz them all off, get the pan down. Okay, on these bolts, some of these bolts right here, they go all the way through the case. Like on this one here, this is on the passenger side front. I can feel the top of that bolt because it's threaded all the way through the case. And some of them, like the ones right behind it here, are a blind hole where the road salt can't get at them. So just a word to the wise, you might want to spray down the top side up here with some penetrating fluid. And some of these bolts are going to come out hard, and if you just put the impact on and try to buzz them, you'll end up creating yourself a lot of work because they will twist off. And a lot of times what I'll do is put the penetrating fluid on, let it sit for a little bit, and then start working them back and forth while still putting on more penetrating fluid. The ones on the driver's side are going to be exactly the same, and there's more of them on the driver's side that are not blind holes. So just want to let you know that before you get too far into it. Okay, I'm going to put that plug back in because I know there's still fluid in that pan and I just don't want it splashing out of that hole on me. Now I've got all the screws out all the way around except for the middle one in the back. And that transmission gasket's going to be stuck a little bit, so you just take a screwdriver in there and kind of pop it loose up front there, just like that. And then with one hand take out the last screw, the other hand support the pan. Alright, so here she comes. Now, right here you can see that stem. This is your oil level check. This is also where we're going to be filling it at. Okay, so You can see why we got a new gasket. That aluminum gasket kind of gets eaten up by the road salt, so we're going to get this all cleaned up. The gasket itself, or I should say the filter, when I go to pull it out, it's going to probably give me a bath of oil coming at me, so you want to be ready for that. And it's got two places where it goes into that valve body. No, I guess it's got screws on. Yep, it's got two screws, one at each end. And those are 8mm, so we got to take those out. And another thing I want to make mention of is there's two ports here where it goes up into. And you can see this one here has got the seal on it. This one here doesn't. So it's up inside yet. Make sure you get that out. And you can use probably a straight edge screwdriver will work alright for that. You just want to make sure you don't scratch the bore. It should come out fairly easy like that there. Okay. So we got the filter out, pan off, and next thing is going to be to pull this gasket down. Like I said, it's kind of grody. It's got stuff growing on it from all the road salt. So I'll try and get as much of that down without getting it over into where the valve body is at. It's really stuck on there. There it comes. Okay, so there's the gasket. And it's pretty rotten right up in this corner. Okay. Now, before we go up with a new gasket, I'm going to come along and scrape that whole mating surface right there and get it clean and smooth. And we'll also clean up that, that transmission pan where it's all rough at. I'll probably use a wire wheel on that. Okay, this is the magnet. Got all the fuzz on from I don't know how many miles away. Like I say, it's got 152,000 on. Don't know if this is the first time the fluid's been changed or not, but we want to clean all that off, and the best way to do that is just take a paper towel and kind of pull it off as much as you can. Next thing we'll do is we're going to clean up this pan. I'm going to take this to a wire wheel and get all that junk off there, that rust and corrosion, so that the new one can seal. And the other thing we're going to do is the bolts. You can see there's a little bit of corrosion on those from the road salt. Use a good grade of anti-seize on them when you go back together. Just put a coat on. That'll help if you have to change them or take them out the next time. It'll keep them from setting up because they're going into aluminum housing, and it's steel. So steel and the road salt, they like to work together with that aluminum and lock things up. So just put a good coat of that anti-seize on them before you go back together. Okay, we're going to clean up this flange. And when you do that, don't gouge it. And get that that stuff off of there so it's nice and smooth all the way around. Some of those spots are a little tough to hit. But go around there and get her nice and clean all the way around, clean and smooth, so that gasket can seal good. Okay, this plug right here in the bottom is also the fill port. Yeah, it's not the best in the West as far as filling them up. Probably not where I'd put it. I'd put a plug somewhere in the transmission side to fill it, but this is what Ford did this particular year. So this is a check plug, because on this side here we showed you that stem right there. That's the fluid level with the engine running, and we're going to check that at a temp of around 80 to 120 degrees. So when you have it between 80 and 120 degrees for tranny fluid temp, it should just barely run over the edge of this and out the bottom. So when you're going to go to fill this, this is 1/8 inch male pipe thread. Okay, here's a hose barb. the 1/8 inch male pipe thread on one end, and then you got your hose that you can put on the other end. So we can screw that in there, and if you want to, you can put on a piece of hose. I got some 3/8 hose, which is a little bit oversized, but it'll still work. It's actually a 5/16 piece that I got there, and they'll make these adapters that you can buy in 1/8 inch pipe thread by 3/8 if you want. And what Amsoil has, I've got a pumper. A lot of you aren't going to have a pumper. So what Amsoil makes is what they call these easy packs. And this isn't the right fluid for it. This is just what I'm doing for an example. With these easy packs, you pull off the cap and you slice it. That opens it up. And I think there's also a plug on the top. Yeah, there is. Got to take that off. Okay, and you can always hook the hose or hook yourself a short piece on right here to fill it if you need to. And go right up in the bottom of that pan. So have your other squeeze. The nice thing about these, you can squeeze them and roll them up and push that fluid right up into the transmission, just like a toothpaste tube. Okay, so they make the ATF with the easy packs just like this. And what I'm going to do is pump it in. I'll pump it right in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill it when the pan is on. We're going to pump it up until it just starts dribbling out. Okay, initially for the flush, I'll overfill it. I'll have that little drain plug ready to go back in as soon as I take off my easy pack or my pumper and replace it, or put your finger over it until you get ready to put that plug back in. Okay, and then we're going to do a flush. That means we're going to start it up with that new fluid in there, and we're going to flush out the transmission torque converter and the cooler up there by the radiator, and I'll show you that here after a bit. But I wanted to give you this while we had the pan off so I could show you what we're doing, how we're doing it. But it's got to be filled through this hole right here. Okay, next thing we're going to do, I've got the pan all cleaned up, and I've got to put the magnet in. The magnet goes right here. Okay, and the other thing is, you can see where the road salt was eating away between the pan and the gasket on the outside there. So what I'm going to do is throw down some of that marine grade anti-seize along that outside, and what that'll do is kind of help keep that corrosion down somewhat. Can't prevent it altogether, but it will help. And by doing that, then that'll kind of help preserve the outside of this aluminum here so it doesn't get ate up quite so bad. So we're going to coat that completely around, and the outside here probably as well on the top side once we get the gasket down. And then we're going to start putting that filter up. That'll be the next thing. Okay, we've got the filter here ready to go back in, and I'm going to put just a little bit of this fluid on so that they slip into the hole a little better. There we go. And there it is. Put our screws in, and these screws get 89 inch-pounds of torque. So I'm just going to snug them up here with the impact just a little bit. I've got the pan here, the magnet is in. I've got the gasket on, ready to go. So we'll put it up, and those bolts get 96 inch-pounds of torque on the pan. So 96 on those. So we're going to go ahead and put all these pan bolts in and get them torqued, and then we'll be back with you. Okay, I got a pumper here, and I put a piece of 1/2 inch hose over the snout of it, and I'm going to put that right up against the bottom. I'm going to try and fill it that way. Should be able to keep a tight enough seal on it to do that. And I've got my plug handy right here so that when I take it off I can put it in. Okay, and I measured what I took out. I got about a gallon out. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a flush, so I'm going to overfill it. I'm going to put in probably about, say, 6 quarts, I'm going to say. Total fill on this transmission is just over 12. It's like 12.4 quarts. Okay, and I want to do a good flush on it and get all that old crap out. So I'm going to start out, and here's the thing too, if when I do the flush, if I don't get the color change that I want, I will do this more than once. I'll, get to the point where when that filter sucks to the bottom of the pan, it'll start spitting out some air up there on the cooler lines. So at that point, I'll shut the engine off, refill it again if I don't have the color change that I want coming out of the cooler lines. So you may have to do it more than once, just depends how dirty your fluid is. So we're going to try and see how this works here as far as filling this up. And I know it's going to be a mess, there ain't no two ways about it, but I wish they had a dipstick. Okay, right there I got 6 quarts. I'll put my plug in. Okay. So we got 6 quarts in. Yes, it's over full. It's not going to hurt anything because we're pumping it right back out again through that cooler line. And that should give us enough to do a good flush on it, I'm hoping. So next thing is I'm going to show you where to unhook your cooler lines. Okay, we got to take off this cooler line right here. And there's a little plastic keeper, it slides right off. And then here's that tool that we mentioned earlier. And it's got kind of like a rubber band on it, keeps it spring loaded. And we're going to put that in. Come on. Pull out in the hose as far as you can. That'll allow you to get it in. And one other thing I forgot to mention. Sometimes on these older trucks, there's a lot of dirt can get packed in here, dust and all that stuff. Take a blowgun and blow it out before you try to release it. And if it's at all rusty, I mean, even if it's clean, you may want to spray some penetrating fluid in there to help release that spring. There's a spring in there that we're pushing out on, because in here deeper it's got another one of these little flanges, and that flange is what holds it in from keeping it from coming out. Okay, so pull it out as far as you can so that you can get this tool on. Otherwise it'll fight you. And have a drain pan underneath, because you take this out, it's going to come out. And there it is. Okay. Then you can take your tool off because you're done with that. Set it aside. Okay, now the snout of this thing right here is a 1/2 inch OD. So what I have here is some poly line, and what I've done on the edge, it's actually an air brake line. What I've done on the edge, I took a file and just smoothed it so it's a nice little taper, because there's an O-ring inside there that this snout seals on. I don't want to damage that O-ring. And you can get this stuff as 1/2 inch OD. You can get it at Lowe's, you can get it at the Home Depot, you can get it at Menards, and you just push it in as far as it'll go right there. Okay. Now that one's done. And then what else I've got here is some 5/8 ID, just heater hose. And that's going to go on this line right here. Okay, just like that. Now, there's going to be some oil come out of both of these hoses. And let me get my light out here. Now, when we go to start this, we're going to put it into gear. We're going to put it into drive for about 3 seconds, 4 seconds, somewhere in there. Then we're going to go back to reverse for about 3 or 4 seconds. Then we're going to go back to park. And I'm going to go until I get a nice color change, or until I start spitting the air. If I'm spitting the air, I'm going to stop. If I don't have the color change that I want, then I'm going to add some more fluid. Okay, so you can see what the fluid looked like here originally. It's kind of dark. And let me get some light over here so we can see a little better. Okay, go ahead and start it up. Alright, shut it off, starting to spurt a little air. Okay, you can start to see the color difference now. We got a little bit of air entrained with it, but you know, it's a nice clean red color, where before it had, you could see kind of metal flakes in it from the original oil. Okay, I'm going to call that good right there, because we got probably about, I'm going to say 4 quarts out, maybe 5. And what I'm going to do at this point is button it up. I'm going to fill that tranny back up again. I'm going to show you the procedure for that. and we'll do the final check on it. Okay, we got the hose pulled out, or a tube pulled out from that cooler line, and taking the hose off the cooler line itself. And basically all you're going to do is take it and push it straight in. Alright, come on now. Stop fighting me. There it goes. Okay. And when I'm all done here, I'm going to take probably some ether or brake clean solvent and just spray inside. There's a little bell hub in here where that fluid can kind of sit. And this stuff will probably work its way out. But put this on when you're all done. Slide that little keeper on. Make sure I got this right here. Yeah, I do. Push it in all the way and snap that on. Okay. So I'm going to take that off, spray that out, and get that all nice and clean and dry. But that's it for buttoning up the cooler line. Okay, we're going to take out this plug again. Be a little bit of fluid there dripping out. And we're going to put in, I'm going to put in about 4 quarts. That should get us pretty close to where we need to be. So we're going to put in 4 quarts, and then we're going to, once we get that done, basically what I'll do is fill it up until I just have it running out of here, out of this drain tube. I'm going to check it at 3 quarts. So once it starts running out of that tube, I'm ready to start it, and then level's going to drop again, and we can fill it higher. Or if you want, you can just put in the 4 quarts and start it. Okay, right there's 4 quarts. Now what we're going to do, go ahead and start it up. Okay, run it through the gears. Go to forward and reverse for about 3 seconds. Okay, right there I've just got a little bit dribbling out. I want to make sure I got enough in. I'm just going to put just a little more. Nah, we're good. It's dribbling out. So at this point what I'm going to do is put the plug in and get the transmission temperature up to anywhere from 80 to 120 degrees. Because that fluid, as it heats up, it's going to expand. And then I will recheck the level, and I want it dribbling out just like it was right there at between 80 and 120 degrees. And we can check it off the pan. If you've got some kind of a scan tool that'll access it, we can do it that way as well. But it's a pretty wide range, 80 to 120 degrees. If you put your hand on there and it feels cold, then it's well under, you know, your body temp's about 98, 99, right in that range, 98.6. Okay, if it feels a little bit warm, that means you're up just over 100 degrees. So that's just a good general rule of thumb. Put your hand on it, let yourself feel it. I mean, if you're above 100, right at about 100, where you can keep your hand on it and it doesn't feel hot, you're at 105, 106 degrees, right in that range. Okay, so at that point you can check it because that's between the 80 and 120. So just as a kind of a general rule of thumb, you can do that, just feel it. So we're going to let it run, and may take it out for a drive and get it up to the temp we need. It'd probably take about 5 minutes of run time to get the temp into it that we need. You can just kind of go by feel. So, and then when you're done, this plug right here gets 89 inch-pounds of torque. So that's about it. Right now we're at about 10 quarts of fluid. The thing holds right at 12, so we got a majority of the old fluid out. And so that's about the end of this flush. I want to thank you for watching my video.
Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil synthetic lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacities. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Don Synthetic Lubes. Thank you and have a great day.